having the right information comes down to us. It's our own responsibility to look for it because it's there. Like, no matter what you think, no matter what type of, I don't know, maybe conspiracy you think there is out there, when you look for the truth for yourself, it's always there. It's always there and it always awaits you. And we need to make that conscious decision to be informed of what are the steps we need to do. And from a more spiritual, energetic point, I believe the intuition we know, like our gut feeling, our intuition knows.
Today, we are having another episode of the Quantum Body Podcast, where all we speak about is the importance of actually upgrading your body, the importance of taking care of your body in order to embody higher states of consciousness and higher awareness. I'm really excited actually to have here Dr. Lavinia as my guest. I'm really excited for you all to hear what she has to share, especially that she has such a powerful history. She actually was in conventional medicine, but then something happened that allowed her to, or got her to actually completely change course. She's also a rapid transformational therapist and a cellular health advocate. So before we dive in, just telling you welcome, Lavinia. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm truly honored to be a part of your podcast and to bring awareness to the importance of our bodies. And yeah, it's really exciting to be talking about this.
Yeah, really excited as well. So yeah, let's have fun. Let's dive in. So first and
Yeah.
foremost, I feel this is like one of the most important questions, but like would love to hear about your transition. What got you to transition from conventional medicine to getting more into that holistic path?
Well, this is quite a story that goes back to my med school years. In Romania, I graduated in Romania, and there are 6 years to medical school. There is no pre-med or something like that, how the states have it. And the way that they organized, we do the first 2 years of basic sciences. And after that, the next 4 years, we gradually start doing rotations, clinical practice, and all of that. And in my first 2 years, I just got to learn how the body works in all of its facets and everything, how it should work smoothly, why it works the way it works from a, well, pure physical standpoint. And when I got into my third year of med school, we started to do the clinical rotations. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it's just fate. The first clinical rotations I did were in the pulmonary ward, so to speak, in the respiratory system. And I still remember the day we had to examine a patient and see the symptoms that he had. And our teacher was just telling us that, well, he has this, this, and this. You can categorize it under this name, under this disease, and we give him this to alleviate his symptoms, to manage his condition. And I was saying, and well, that's it? Like, I was saying it in my mind, unfortunately. I didn't have the to confront them at that time. Well, looking back now, maybe I wouldn't have finished medical school if I did. And that thought that first appeared in my mind was, how come we as doctors just do this? Like, we just see what happens and we don't know why it happens. We don't go at the root of the problem. Of course, in an emergency, in an acute situations, all of the techniques that we employ are beneficial are, like, for me, allopathic medicine works beautifully when there's an acute condition, when there's trauma, when there are accidents, like lives are saved by surgeons, by trauma surgeons, and in the emergency ward. The problem comes that what we were examining in that rotation, in that clinical rotation, were chronic conditions. And of course, I was learning that they have been having this for 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 years. And I was saying, well, oh my God. And why hasn't anyone been thinking, why is that happening? Why are we not looking at, because we just come from 2 years of learning how everything works, and we just throw it in the trash. And for me, that was a tipping point. From there on, I started to feel less and less passionate or excited about the path that I have chosen. So much so that in my fourth year, I had to, like, I actually wanted to stop studying medicine. And I said, because this is not in line, this is not making sense for me as a person, as I wanted to help people. What they were training me to do was completely nonsense. I dare to say it. For chronic conditions, I say it again, because in acute accidents and all of that, it works wonderfully. So that was my my tipping point for me. Because we are not trained to look at the why everything happens, why the disease stays, why there is the chronic condition. We're not trained to look for it. So I began looking for other solutions. Yeah.
That's very powerful. And I really resonate with this because for myself also at some point, I realized that, for example, as much as like with mental health as well, like going through psychiatry or psychotherapy, there was always, I felt like a missing piece there where it was just kind of like looking into like, okay, there's a deficiency in the brain. So if you're depressed, like, okay, just take an antidepressant, but not really looking into the soul, like the spiritual aspect or even the emotional reason behind it of why somebody is depressed. So I really resonate with this. And I'm curious, when you spoke about that, like the importance of the root cause, like why do you feel it's important to tackle the roots rather than just kind of masking the symptoms?
I believe that this is something that comes from my childhood. I think it's something that I've always thought to be important. I believe in my family, we were always like, there were fights, and we were not talking about what's really happening. So maybe there's something, that's why I got like passionate about finding out why that happens. And from a physical standpoint, it's because everything it's interconnecting. That, like, you might find that there's an inflammation in the knee that can go haywire, I don't know, in the heart, or I don't know, you can have a pulmonary embolism or a fat embolism because of trauma that wasn't addressed properly. So everything is connected. And it makes sense for me to, if you want to really help someone, if you present yourself as a medical doctor, I believe it's common sense to help them find the why and the root cause of their problem.
Yeah, that is so true, actually. And yeah, because there's definitely, like you're saying, like it's not just one thing. There could be so many different branches to it and helping in the long term as well, rather than just fixing the short term. I'm sure, like, everything that we kind of go through has a reason. And I feel
Yeah.
like, what you built up to, it's like now you have literally the blueprint of the body, the blueprint of seeing things like from a doctor perspective as well, like learning all that knowledge. So I'm just curious, like, what do you feel was your gift going through that, like becoming a doctor, and how is that supporting you right now in what you're doing?
Well, as I said, I was very passionate when I was learning about how the body works in my in those first years of medical school. So now I carry that with me because even though I cannot say it like the whole textbook up front, if I go back and review it, I understand why this, why that cell works the way it works, why the system is wired in that way. That empowers me for myself first, because I believe that I need to be a model for people that I am trying to transmit the information. That empowers me to take informed decisions about my health. I have been blessed with good health. That's true, and I've only had some conditions that were really bugging and mild, but like constant bugging conditions. And for me, when something was presented as a solution or a fix for it, I knew how to analyze it or how to understand it and see, is this truly real, or it's just like again masking the symptoms? So I think that's the most powerful takeaway for me personally, because I can also transmit that to other people, make them understand, look, this is why it works in this way, this is why it won't function. For example, I'm going to give you an example that's been my passion, the microbiology and the antibiotics. It was a fantastic 1 year of of subject. I had a really tough teacher, and I still have the principles of everything, of how the cultures are done, how you can study the microbes, the bacteria, and of everything. And actually, in my last experience, when I had to prescribe antibiotics, I was very strict about them. I was very strict about the days they had to be taken, the hours. I actually spent hours explaining, like, you have to take it at fixed hours, because the antibiotic is constructed in that way so that it knows the cycle of the bacteria, it knows how to stop it, and if you juggle it, well, it won't work, and all the side effects you're gonna have them without the result. So yeah, that's just an example of of why I believe it's a huge advantage. Even though I'm moving away from conventional medicine, I still can prescribe stuff and for acute conditions and all of that, and I can teach people to look at things from an informed position and to explain why it works this way or why it won't work that way.
Wow, that is so beautiful because you mentioned like two beautiful things. One of them is like when you were talking about, how it works in a structure, I felt that you see and you're highlighting the fact that the body has its intelligence, right?
Yes.
It knows what it does. It's all interconnected. Not like, when in maybe conventional medicine, it's more like it's separating things and just
Yeah.
we gotta fix this, we gotta do this. And here it's like, no, we're opening up to the intelligence that the body has. And that's so
Yeah.
powerful. I feel like these are the times we're in, this returning to this remembrance that our body is very intelligent and has its power to heal itself as well.
Yeah, what we do from outside is merely a support, and it has to be the best kind of support. Because if we give something that just tries to disrupt how the body works, the body will consume all the energy on the problem itself and on the stuff that you want to put in. So you put in so much pressure on the body that we need to make informed decisions about what we do to it.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, and I think that's bringing me to the point of like nature and like returning to utilizing holistic remedies or using natural remedies. Like, what is your insight or intake on this?
Well, I believe as I'm passionate about finding the root cause, I am passionate about living by the roots or at the roots
Mhm.
of our existence. I'm confident and I trust that we do have a divine design in our bodies. And we, as much as conventional medicine, as much as scientists might say that, oh, we cracked this code and the other one, we won't fully understand it. But when we allow to live in a communion with the natural world, with nature itself, with the the gut feelings and the intuition that we perceive it, then the body works in harmony. It's the way it's supposed to work. It's designed to be like that, because nature itself is a part of this physical world and also has an energy of itself. And we are just the same. We are more complex, that's true. We are maybe the most complex constructs on this physical world, and with even more care, we have to conduct the body, the physical body that we have. And I believe addressing or wanting to get to natural remedies, to holistic, because our hand won't be there and our head over there or our leg over there. It's all connected, it's all put in a whole, so it needs holistic approach and remedies.
Yeah, and I love also the fact that you're, bringing that education as well that you're mentioning. It's like you're bringing the awareness, the self-awareness of what is going on, but also bringing the education to, the people around. Like you have to understand how these things work. And that is, I feel, is a very strong missing piece in conventional medicine, is that there's
Yeah.
no education. And sometimes for myself, I notice like even doctors getting sometimes triggered when I ask several
Yeah.
questions. It's like as if you're pushing some button, but it's just like, I just want to be informed. And um, yeah, I have two questions here in my mind, but I guess where you want to go, because you mentioned, you were prescribing and going into that world. Like, what would you say is the maybe the intake on using like chemicals or pharmaceuticals rather than actually being relying on nature and what natural medicine has to give us?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't been trained in the natural remedies. That's the problem that I have. Because if I want to work alongside and prescribing more natural remedies, I'll have to partner up with a naturopath, for example, or go myself into that field as well. The chemicals came basically because they're more, I don't know, at hand, and they work fast and they work fast, not necessarily in a good way, because they exert, as I was talking before, the natural remedies take their time. They have to adapt to the system that they get into, because we have unique bodies, each of us. The processes inside are unique to each of us, even though we can learn that the principles, the foundations are maybe this and this goes to that, the chemical reactions are the same. How the environment inside is different from one person to the other. So when you want to integrate natural remedies, it should be done when maybe just as a preventative, when there's no problem, and when there's a real problem, but there needs to be like a professional that really would know how to address the acute episodes with the natural remedies. And I truly believe that that is possible. The chemicals, because we are bombarded and we live in this conventional world, in the conventional medicine, they are more, I don't know, comfortable to use. And the MDs, we are taught, we are trained like that. That's all we know. Like if you even mention, I don't know, oregano or lavender or something like that, I think they're gonna throw you out of class. So it's truly a pity, honestly, that it's been cut off from medicine. And even though I went through the school, I took all my exams, It's uh, it's more, I believe it's more comfortable for the way the society and how we are structured to live. And that's why there's so much chronic disease over the years, over the decades, because when the chemicals go in, they exert a massive power, like they force the body to do something in that particular moment that maybe it was not the moment for it. For example, there's something when all of this craziness started 4 years ago with the virus and all of that. I went again into my immunology basics and I listened to some scientists, and actually I was remembering how little importance it had, the science of immunology in medical school. Like we had so little hours to understand it. There's so much to learn, and we weren't given the chance to fully understand it. And when I went back to it, I saw that like inflammation in itself is the first protective mechanism. Like not even the antibodies. The antibodies are the second line of defense. The first line of defense is the inflammation on the site with the type of the inflammatory cells that are there that are called monocytes. So when I went back and revised that, I said, oh my God. And when you give like the fever itself, it's a defense mechanism. So when you give chemicals, they exert that pressure on the body, that effect that it needs to go down right in that moment. Well, maybe that wasn't the moment for it, you know? Again, I'm not talking about severe episodes or acute when the fever, I don't know, is 40, 41 Celsius. I don't know Fahrenheit. I'm here in Europe. So that's why I believe that chemicals should be handled with extreme care. Extreme care. Like that's why there is an entire university for it. Like you become a pharmacist, you have to go through a degree because they are that important, and their effects can have like a long-term echo on your health and on your body.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So what you're sharing, because again, is like going back to seeing everything as one, and as if it feels like it's not really understanding the real mechanism, I would say,
Yeah.
of this body, and just instead looking into kind of a formula of like you're saying A plus B is C.
Yeah.
And again, like that quick fix, let's just do that. And maybe that's what you're saying. In those moments, actually, conventional medicine is necessary when there's like, okay, I broke my hand, I broke my
Yeah.
foot, or something very like an emergency. Okay, that comes very handy. But then when it's like that longer approach, it's creating more havoc and more, yeah, more havoc and more chaos
Yeah.
inside the body. And I want to speak into the inflammation a little bit later, so I'm just taking note on that.
Okay.
But that's, yeah, that's powerful. And I think because also when you were talking, I'm like, that is the title of this podcast, the quantum body, because quantum is what everything is. It's like
Yes.
everything's connected, right? And also past, present, and future are all one, but also it's all unison. Everything is what is right now in this here and
Yes.
now. And I'm realizing right now, like a lot of people are finding it challenging to be independent in the way that they make decisions on how to give, what to give their body. And instead, because what you were saying, it feels like we're used to it. It's like a comfort
Yeah.
to go back to what we know because it's what we've been trained. It feels like it's a whole reprogramming journey. But at the same time, I feel like right now is a very important time to reclaim that sovereignty of our body, reclaim what, to take care of our own body and know that we know what our body needs more than anybody
Of
else,
course.
really.
Yeah.
So, what would you say about, how can, the people listening right now, or people usually reclaim their sovereignty in that world where you're saying conventional medicine is dominating?
Well, I believe as I as I come I come like a trained professional, and I'm also highly spiritual. And for me, this part of making decisions and choosing what's right for you, I think it has two sides. On the one side is the logical, maybe conscious part that you need to inform yourself. Like, take the time, read the what you need to read, not just watch the media or what they say to you. Ask questions, like you said, when you go to the doctor, well, ask the questions, and if they don't answer, just go find another one, and so on and so forth. And I believe having the right information comes down to us. It's our own responsibility to look for it because it's there. Like, no matter what you think, no matter what type of, I don't know, maybe conspiracy you think there is out there, when you look for the truth for yourself, it's always there. It's always there, and it always awaits you. And we need to make that conscious decision to be informed of what are the steps we need to do. And from a more spiritual, energetic point, I believe the intuition we know, like our gut feeling, our intuition knows. Maybe you come across two conflicting opinions or two results or two solutions. Well, breathing in and just staying with yourself, allowing yourself, I believe, eh, I'm also an example that works, and your intuition will guide you to what is true for you, to what is the truth for yourself. I believe that these two need to work together.
I was just filled with goosebumps. Like it's just so powerful, really, what you're saying, especially like the amount of, like I'd say, like the programming, but also the pressure sometimes, like the societal pressure, the family pressure, even the doctor sometimes pressuring, like, you're in a critical scenario, you just got to do this. And then you're like, your body feels like, no, I feel there could be another way that I don't need maybe
Yeah.
the surgery right now. And I feel it's such a powerful practice to keep, like, as you're saying, refining and looking within and trusting ourselves more than anything.
Yes, because at, in the end, this body and your body, your own body, will know what it needs. It just has the intelligence in itself. We just need to allow it to express it, to express itself, and not let the program mind, what we have, because we have a lot of programming in our conscious mind. We need to understand that that is just noise. Like, most of the time, maybe 99% of the time, is just noise. So the inner voice is what will guide to the best solution for our body, and that's how I believe it. We can reclaim the sovereignty over our bodies.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that's why it's like also leading to that point of, what we were saying, like, okay, the body is quantum. And the way that I sometimes like to describe is like it's a quantum computer, because we know that like our body is literally, it functions like a system, a
Yes.
computer. And it's literally has this, what we were saying, this intelligence to heal itself, to do what it needs to do. So I'm just curious from your eyes, because I was saying you have that blueprint of being a doctor and even also being a therapist and doing your, spiritual work. Um, like, and your experience of what you experience with yourself and also with others, like how would you describe the potential and the magic that actually our body carries?
That, from one point of view, I think it cannot be put into words, honestly. It's imagine that we don't even know. We basically, the scientists suppose that we broke down the cells into molecules, into atoms, and even the atoms. And even though so, the quantas of those atoms don't behave as they should behave, or how you suppose they should behave. That intelligence that holds them together is something that cannot be described, I believe. Is more that it's more than magic, is more than intelligence, is more than energy. It's just like a beautiful harmony that allowed all of our physical components to come together in order to harbor our soul, our higher frequencies. Because this experience, as you said, there's no past, there's no future, it's only now. And the manifestation of the physical, it's now, it's right now. So all of this came together, all of the cells, all of the molecules, all of the systems that are put in place in order to harbor our soul, to harbor our energies. And I believe that neither from a scientific point of view, neither from a therapeutic point of view, it can be described into words because it's so powerful. It's I can only say that it's a harmony. It's a harmony between physical elements that are brought together by higher intelligence, higher energies, in order to harbor our own soul, so we can experience this physical life.
Yeah, that is true. And also, like, kind of seeing it, again, we're kind of connecting mind, body, and soul here, right? And everything is kind of intertwined. But also, like, see, because I've witnessed, and we were talking a little bit about it earlier, that in the people on this path, sometimes they bypass the physical aspect. Because I noticed in my journey, like, there's two people, if I were to categorize, not that I want to, categorize people, but, if I were just for the sake of this example, is some people, like, they're completely disconnected from their spiritual self, and they just see, okay, I'm just, the body. And sometimes just focusing on the body as well, right? Like just doing exercise, and they're really healthy in that sense, but they kind of diminish or dismiss the spiritual aspect or the energetic reason, that because we know, right? Like if you have a pain in a specific area of your body, there's an emotional reason, there's an energetic reason, right? There's a mindset kind of in the work also that you do, and that other part, which is, the people that are actually just living in the higher realms, like just spirit, 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 and saying like, but everything is energy. So if I just do, the energetic part, bypassing the physical. And I feel that is also one of the intentions of this podcast, to bring that it's about bridging both, because both are equally important. And in order for us to, embody those higher states of awareness, we need to take care of our body. So I'm curious, like, what is your perspective about this? Why do you feel it's important to take care of our hardware, our, computer system, to be able to have this, higher awareness, this better mindset, all of this?
Well, I believe if we take an example of a computer without the software, it's just dead. It's just there. Like you can polish it all you want, you can charge it, but if it doesn't have the software installed, well, it won't do anything. It's just gonna be a rock, a dead rock. And on the other part, if you have the best software, the most advanced one, and you have an a piece of crap hardware that is not cared for, that is broken, that has pieces missing, well, that complex, that amazing software will not have a good home. It won't function. It won't make the hardware even move properly, even though the software is a complex and beautiful thing. So the two need to sync, they need to connect well, they need to mesh well. So our bodies have to do that with the energies and with our soul. And I like to believe of the bodies that they're like a sacred temple. Well, maybe walking temples because we move. And it's amazing that so many, as you said, spiritual people would take such good care of the temples. I come from an Orthodox background in Romania where they are very religious. So oh my God, they need to look after the altar, to look after the walls and the pictures and the paintings. And when they go home, they just like crash themselves. And I don't know, it's amazing. But everything is like an expression of what we already are. We just like perceive it in for the cultures or for the people from all of the world, we interpret it differently. That's why there are so different temples or different cultures or different, I don't know, spiritual paths. But in the end, it all comes back to what we are and how we express it outside. And so if you take care of those temples, or if you take care of those I don't know, sacred spaces, how come you won't understand that you are a sacred space that harbors a sacred energy? So that's how I see it. That's from my point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so nice. And I love this analogy you gave that we're kind of harboring we're holding, right? It's like the body is the holder of the soul and the spirit. So if we feed it all of this crap or put things that kind of, don't let it function properly, then how is that? It's matter. It's like spirit and matter, and both need to
Yes.
be equally got into this. And if for me, I want to hear your experience, how you got to this realization. For me, it was a big, aha moment where through my stepson, because he's an amazing light, like he's just amazing spirit. He's on the spectrum, so there was a lot of havoc in his body. And since meeting him, I was always like, but I see his soul, his light is just so beautiful, but there's this inability to
Yes.
function properly because on the matter there's been chaos and havoc. And the moment then we started working with him, it's like now you can see more of his energy and his light coming through. That for me at least was that grounding realization that, okay, no, like we gotta, both are important. What would you say was your moment where you realized, okay, both are important and this needs to work with the other?
Well, I believe I don't recall having like an aha moment of myself. I just know that I've always been very intuitive as a child. And I kind of felt more from a societal point of view that you need to behave in certain way, like you're as a body, as a person, you have to perform some tasks, and your soul is telling you other things. Like you feel it in yourself that you're not that person. Like you're not that I don't know, persona. You're not that actor. And this can really impact the mental health, because there can be a split there that will cause a lot of damage. And I, little by little, even though I went by the society rules, so to speak, then I came back to myself, and it was like a gradual journey for me. And I understood that you have to embody and express it through your body, through the physical, what you have inside, and you need to allow it to express itself. And of course, I realized on myself, maybe when I was not eating right, or maybe I was going overboard a little too much, like I wanted to do so much stuff, but the body won't move, because of course I just hijacked it, you know. And it makes sense, because in order for the energy, for the spirit, for the soul to express through the physical body, it needs to connect in a good manner with it. Like it needs to allow the expression of these energies, and there you need to care for it in a certain way if you want to live like that. In harmony. Yeah.
I absolutely love your terminologies. Like we get along there, you spoke hijack. I'm like, yes, that's the word I love, hijacking the body. Yeah. And I think that's also actually like now leading me to the point of the world of heart, like the world of supplementation, or even the world of like, because you spoke about the diet as well, but there's new technologies are coming up that are taking that approach to the next level. And I know that you are a cellular health advocate. So I'm really curious to start there and know, how did it start? How did your journey with cellular health start? And what got you to be actually interested in it?
Well, for me, the term cellular health didn't make a lot of sense. Well, I didn't know what it was because we're not trained to think like that. I think we only learn about cells as units in the body in only a semester or something like that. And it's just how they function and nothing more. We are not trained to see the impact of what one cell damaged or not, or if it's old or anything like that. We're not trained to see how it impacts what may be in oncology, but nothing more. So it's just either how it works and that's it, or the other extreme when they go completely haywire. So there was no training into how to sustain the units that form our tissues, our organs, our entire body. And I came to study or to inform myself more on this when I came across the technology that I'm working with 4 years ago. And little by little, uh, alongside this journey, it opened my eyes because I understood that if we do not address and we do not sustain the cells at the physical level, at their unit level, even one, if it works out of balance, and it doesn't have to be a cancerous one, it just needs to be a little unbalanced, it can generate a whole domino, and it can go, the effect you can see the effect throughout years. So it made sense for me to start to address any imbalance, any little issue before it becomes a big issue, like right at the cell, right at the unit.
That is actually fascinating. Like for a moment, I just imagined you, because when you're sharing, that you were never taught this. And I'm just imagining like your realization when you got introduced to cellular health. It's like a bulb where like, what?
Yeah,
Like I just can imagine like, are you serious? What? How come I don't know about this? Like
it was actually like that, like up until I actually allowed it to sink in. I was saying, oh my dear God, why don't we know about this?
so what would you say is like, why is cellular health so important for our body to like get into that optimal health?
Well, I believe ever since I learned about cellular health, I started to read something more on the epigenetics part of it, and I really like how I think I've always known this when I was studying med school, but it wasn't put together like this. And imagine that our body is just a community of cells, like a community. Even imagine you're in your neighborhood, and each cell, each group of cells from the organs, from the tissues, they have decided to start working together in order to form a higher creation, a higher construct. So, but they are still units in there. They are still individuals, so to speak. So they need to be supported, even though they work one alongside each other, and they're finely tuned with each other, because that's how they form the communities, that's how they form the tissues, the organs, and that's how the system work together. Because at the cellular level, they decide, so to speak, work together. So they need all the support, they need the communication between them, they need to know what's happening on the other side of the body. So that's would they would know how to perform, how to function in case of an emergency, in case of danger. And I believe it's important to address that and to support that at the at the unit level. Speak.
Wow. And so, like, when I hear you, I'm like, is that, would you say, I mean, it's a basic word for me, but would you say that's creation itself?
I believe so. I truly believe so because uh, even though when you think of yourself and you come together with another person and or a group, all the energy, what you bring in there, you're gonna influence the energy of the whole group, and what they bring in there, they're gonna also influence the energy of the group, and the outcome of that group is going to be a symphony of those energies. And the epigenetics, really, like, there is science on this. I'm not talking woo, even though I'd like to, but woo is also real. And
Yes.
the cells work together in the very same way because they decide to come together, to stay together in order to serve that function, in order to serve the creation of the tissue, the creation of the organ, the supporting of the system. They decide to come together and work together. So, yeah.
Wow, that's such a beautiful image. I'm like, again, just goosebumps. I'm like, that's it. That's just so beautiful. And it's beautiful you're saying like they're a unit, you know, it's a unit wanting to identify when there's something, you know, because what does a unit do, right? They're there to support each other,
Yes.
to be in unison. And like if there's an invader, if there's something not working, it's like they want to go after it, you know, like you're not part of this group, you know, get out of here. You're disrupting the unison.
Yes.
Um, so, and we'll get into that a little bit later for sure. But what would you, so what are those, one of those like technologies or maybe several technologies or products that you use to support or you would recommend that support cellular health?
Well, for me, the only one that makes sense, and I'm not looking into others, is ASEA Redox. Like, ASEA is why I started to look into this, and all the ahas that I had at first were more than enough for me. Like, it makes sense for me. It's such a foundation at the foundational level that I'm basically, I believe, is the layer, the foundation, the bricks that we need when we want to address our health, when we want to perform at high speed, high energy, when we want to declutter our mind, our bodies, in order to allow the energies to come in, to siphon through us. So it makes a whole lot of sense using ASEA Redox, and I'm not even looking into others. Yeah.
I'm curious why you're not looking into other, you feel it's like this complete picture for you, it just made sense.
Yeah, it made sense because when we talked about how the body has its own intelligence
Mm-hmm.
and living in the world that we live in, because we allow so much stuff coming in that's not beneficial for us, it disrupts the natural working of the body, the natural functioning of the body. And well, ASEA Redox comes to balance all that out. Like, imagine you can like just be in the middle of a fire and the fire won't touch you. I believe that's what does ASEA for the body. It puts in so much power, and it's not even putting pressure because it's not a chemical, it's not a supplement, it's not a vitamin. It's basically native. It's what our cells already make, and they recognize it as their own. They say, "Well, hey, come on in." Like, we don't have you. We the body doesn't have to analyze it, doesn't have to metabolize it, doesn't have to break it in parts in order to use the beneficial parts and maybe leave out what it's not useful. Like, it recognizes it as its own, as another, and it's truly, I believe it's magical that this could have been done outside of the body. It's truly, I believe when the founder came across this, it was the hand of divinity.
God, 100%. I agree with you. I really feel it's like a hand of God, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's also how I found I can, because just to bridge it back to something we were speaking about earlier, this is how I found it as well. How I came across Redox was through those words where I felt like I was asking for something more than the supplement world or, the vitamins and the detoxing guys I was doing. Because back to what we were saying, I felt that I was not, there was something like something that was stopping me from breaking through
Yeah,
to what we were saying, expand into that, bring land, allow my expression more to come through me. And knowing that, okay, I rely on nature and I rely on natural supplements and things like that. But there was a missing link. And
yeah,
and that's what I found for myself in Redux. And making so much sense when you're breaking it down from, the perspective of, like I was saying, a dog, like knowing your science and knowing how the body works. Also, in terms of Redux, they're operating in 35 countries. So you can just go to the market, also the website in the description below. You can just pick your own market and it will get delivered to where you are. What would you say? I'm curious because, and maybe you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but if I want to go a bit deeper of like because you're as a doctor, what is it that you saw in redox in those molecules that you didn't find anywhere else? Like what clicked,
well,
what drew you in?
first it wasn't even looking, like it found me. Basically, I was just looking for something more, for something holistic, for something that I can recommend that would work at the foundation. So it just found me. And why it's so important? Well, I believe it just supports the body to hang on a little longer, to hang on better, to even though we have all these aggressors, all this um, adverse environment, that maybe there are tougher times that I don't know 200 years ago when you could just live off land, and because of those aggressors, the body, you can be all the perfect, have all the perfect diet and the perfect, I don't know, spiritual meditations and all the lifestyle that you have, but if your body does not know what to do with all the goodness that you bring in, because it works on getting out all the bad that got in, well, you're gonna be stuck. Because it is stuck in the process of eliminating bad stuff, and it cannot integrate all the goodness that you bring to it. So for me, this is what redox does for the body. It gets out everything that is not beneficial for the body, so you can allow all the other good stuff that you already have done or you want to incorporate to function as they should function in the body. That's why for me it makes sense to bring it in, integrate it into your life, and never give it up.
You like clicked something for me because I was always saying, I was always saying like I felt, and that's what I was saying. I felt like I was stuck. Like there was a ceiling to my health. There was a ceiling to embodying my like being able to live and express what the intelligence, the divine intelligence that I have. And I witnessed that same thing also with my stepson. Like we've done a lot that allowed him to move and changed so much, but there was always that ceiling. And then we said, like, we would say that, like, okay, what redox allowed us to do is to break through. But now you explained it, like the blueprint of why it's stuck. And it's beautiful what you said, because that's why I was like, was wondering. So that's why people that it's amazing, like you want to supplement, but if you don't have, if I'm understanding correctly, if you don't have the cells that allow you to take those goodness that you're saying and filter out, I would say, right? Like you take the goodness and allow it to go and be absorbed maybe in a better way or go where it needs to go. And same with the bad things, like to take them out in the proper channels or really
Yes.
allow them to take them out. So actually, what I'm, is that what I'm getting correct? So they're
Yes.
doing that
Yes.
job.
Well, basically. the people that I come across with, so to speak, they all come from a background, I don't know, of bad diet, I don't know, poor lifestyle, trauma, mental issues, and all of those, they leave a print on the body, and the body is left on its own to try to deal with everything of that, to try to sort it out, to try to filter it. And even though you want to start implementing, you start to exercise, you start to eat better, you start to do all these good things that we know are beneficial for the body has dealt with for so long with so much crap that it cannot just integrate the goodness that you bring to it. It first needs to let out the bad. And that's what I've seen that ASEA does for anyone. Basically, and for everything that you might think of.
Yeah, so powerful. And then it's landing with me even more, like even with spirit, because we say we're here to integrate our learnings, integrate the wisdom that we have into embodiment, and to allow that the crap, the havoc and the chaos to leave so that we can integrate more. So it's all just landing perfectly. And I would say, like, that's where I would ask you. So because a lot of people say, when they get introduced to this new way, well, first of all, I feel what we were saying, it's a reprogramming on its own to move from conventional medicine to natural living. But then it's another programming, I feel, to move from natural living, a new education from natural living to cellular health, because it's literally a breakthrough, right? It's something new. So I hear people sometimes say, but I already use, my essential oils. I already use this. I already use that. So what would you say to them to say, okay, you're doing that, but you're not, you know, do,
Addressing it, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think I talked about it a bit. Everything that we bring to our bodies in a natural way, the oils, plants, like everything that comes from the natural world, it's basically a entity of itself. It has its own energy, its own construct, and it's different from us. It has beneficial aspects to it that our body knows how to use it and uses it, but there are other aspects that the body doesn't use it. The body knows how to sort it through that, but what it needs to do first, break that down and take what it needs, metabolize it, send it where is needed, and the rest needs to flush it out. Well, redox does not go through that process. Redox molecules are already in the state as we take them. They just come to group with the redox that we already have. And they recognize each other and they start working together. There's no breaking down. There's no metabolism there. There's no effort from the body to integrate them. So they just come inside and go to work with the redox that we already have. That's why it's needed to be done before you can say, well, I'm doing this and that and that.
That's so beautiful. I love your visuals, the analogies you're getting. I swear it's like buddies just meeting up and like, hey, where have you been? I missed you.
Something like that, yeah.
Let's connect. And yeah, rather than having something different and then it's like you're saying, like digesting that information. This is more of you and just seeing it like this. So I think you mentioned once you said that actually elevating the amount of redox in our bodies is like drinking life. Can you speak a little bit more into that?
Well, our bodies degrade over time, and that's true. And because there's a certain structure to them, there are certain systems put in place. The cells, if we would live in a perfect environment, maybe they wouldn't break down as they break down. And the redox processes that we already have, the cells that are already doing the redox molecules, well, they start to slow down over time. And if you want to feel and to maintain that aliveness, that high energy, that quick response of the body to anything that comes across with, I believe that is quite crucial to put back the redox that we lose over time. And it starts actually with puberty. Like, there's another example for you. Imagine when a 4-year-old has a cut or breaks a bone, and how an 18-year-old has a cut or breaks a bone. They don't heal, even though they're young. No, you say, well, an 18-year-old. Well, they don't heal the same. And that's because how the cells communicate between them through the redox molecules. And because there's less communication, it takes more time, and maybe if something comes in during that process, it may damage the outcome. So having or drinking the redox, I believe, is like drinking life, putting back the level of the redox in your body so you can be at optimum all the time.
So that's why actually, like, the more that you grow, like you age, the less redox you're actually making.
Yes. Yeah.
And I also feel that, I don't know if you could confirm that or just speak in, like, it's also that the more toxicity that we're around is also getting us to reduce our redox.
I believe when you start to respond to certain toxins or to certain aggressors, at certain periods of time, the cells know how to produce it. They have, I believe, it's a fixed amount of how much they can produce, and they can respond to it actually. But imagine you don't just respond to one thing. Maybe in the ancient times when you were running from a tiger, or I don't know, that was just one thing you had to deal with and nothing else. Today we have, as I said, stress, anxiety, mental issues. Your boss is yelling at you. You have a bad environment at home, like your own subconscious programming. There are so many stressors that the mind already perceives as a tiger. So the body is like bombarded at the same time. And even though the cells can maintain their normal redox production, at one point of time, you'll be left depleted because they're programmed to do it in a certain way at a certain time. So if you have the extra redox in your body, it can respond to everything that comes at you at the same time.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I think that's why we tackled a few points here. Like, first of all, having your natural supplements are very important. But if there's not the redox, which is the communicator that will allow to filter in and take what needs to be taken and put them in the right places. So that's like an added on. But also what we're saying is that because of this lifestyle that we're in, it's already blocking us from actually making what our body needs to make. So also supplementing ourselves with redox can support that. Now, what about you spoke about inflammation, but what about also inflammation and also microorganisms? Because also you wrote that when you maintain a good redox potential, you actually maintain a shield to those microorganisms invasion.
Well, a response from our immune system is actually using reactive species of oxygen. It's like, imagine it's not a shotgun, it's bigger than a shotgun. I think, and it's an automatic gun that the T cells have. And when they encounter, basically, when they see something, a microorganism inside, they just shoot at it with reactive species of oxygen. So redox is it has the oxygen, it has the peroxide and the hydrogen. And well, imagine you already have your soldiers there in place, and they have like a limited amount of ammo that they can use. Well, basically, if you have a good state of health, you can you can sustain that attack. Well, imagine that you have more of ammo and they can use it, their both hands maybe shooting at the and the microorganism, and you fight off the infection faster, you recover faster, and well, you can live your life in another way. You don't have to be bedridden for a week, you'll just have to take care of yourself, I don't know, 2-3 days. And that's where it comes the specificity of the shield, so to speak. It's
Yeah.
used as ammo. Yeah.
Yeah, I love again your analogies. There's like it makes us understand better, you know. And yeah, it is fascinating because for myself, I felt that reduction of inflammation in my entire body, like with joints, muscles, stomach, bloatedness, headache. Like I noticed it working. I always felt there was this overall like inflammation feeling in my system, and I felt it working on those different layers and lessening it. And also that anti, the micro, what you were describing, like fighting off those things with as simple as like my toenail. Like my toenail was filled with, for 10 years it wouldn't grow, it was filled with fungus, just like, very weird things. And then just applying, the topical version of Redox in 1 month, and knowing that I've tried everything from like chemical to natural stuff, and just seeing it that it started growing, and that's going back to like feeling like it's life, it's really creation that is just happening, creating allowing
Yeah.
life to move through the nail. What was your experience, being on Redox? What was your story?
Well, my story began, I started using it for my skin. I started using the topical version because at that time I don't know what it was. It was COVID and I wasn't going into, well, no dermatologist was going to see me, and I already knew what they're going to prescribe, like corticosteroids and a topical cream, and you're on your way. And yeah, I tried like essential oils, and to sleep in a cooler environment. I just was itching. I just was itching all over. Maybe I had some problems with my liver, but again, I didn't investigate it. And I was itching so hard that I had to wake up in the middle of the night and start scratching myself. And I would scratch until it bled. So yeah, with the wounds all over my body, and they would just not go away. And when I started to use the topical version, like I believe in the first 2-3 nights, the itching just got away completely. And in about 2-3 weeks, like the skin just regenerated and become itself, and it didn't come back. And my partner as well, he had nasty he had some nasty condition, I think for over the 4 or 5 years. And he used to take medicine for it, and it didn't, like, it just managed it, as we talked about, like chemicals just manage it. It doesn't go better, it won't go worse, it just stays there. And it helped him amazingly. For him it took a bit more because it was more severe. Mine, I think it was more acute, and I think for him it took about a month and a half for the skin to clear out. And that was our first experience with it. And later on, well, as I said, I don't have any serious medical conditions. So what I noticed is like more clarity, more focus. It's like I don't know, a veil just just lifts from the mind, from the brain. And another episode, I used to have recurring throat infections. There were just like 3 or 4 a year, like on the clock. And it was a time when I said, well, okay, I'm done with the antibiotics because I don't want to wreck my my gut anymore. And I will just put it locally. And I just used the topical version and I put it on the throat. Yeah, I took a a a thing, that you take for when you took your PCRs and stuff like that. Well, I took one of that, and I just rubbed it on my tonsils and on the throat as much as I could
Wow.
stand it. And yeah, that just did the trick. I didn't need any more antibiotics and nothing. And nebulizing it as well, it helped me because the last time I think I had a really bad cough. I didn't have anything on the throat. It was just a cough. And I didn't know where it came from. And I said, okay, I need to start nebulizing it. And yeah, it worked like a charm.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, first to hear, this powerful story, but also that with all this, with the topical version as well,
Yeah,
like it's not even yet drinking it. So just
yes,
um,
that's the topic.
that led me to one question in my head about why, from everything we spoke and what you broke down, why do you think that some people they don't get the results? Like some things take longer, to heal than others.
Because they have spent a lot of time with the problem. As we said, there's a lot of crap accumulated, and the body needs to start sorting it out to get it out. From where to get it out first, we need to understand that the intelligence, the structure that the bodies are made, they will first go to the vital organs. We actually, as you said, maybe people won't see results, I don't know, not even in 3 4 months, see it, sense it. Because when your liver is hurting, for example, it won't give off symptoms until it's way too late.
Yeah.
But even if 2 3 4 cells start to degrade, it completely wrecks the functioning of the organ itself. So the body knows the liver is a vital organ, the heart is a vital organ. When you start to supplement with redox, it starts to sense that it has more energy. It can do more important stuff, so it will direct itself first to the vital organs. So if your liver was not hurting, you didn't know. Maybe you start taking it, I don't know, for joint pain or for skin or for eye problems or anything that's peripheral. But you didn't know that maybe your liver was breaking down, or maybe there was an issue in the stomach, or maybe the brain started to atrophy, but there were not signs. Well, the body will start to address those issues first, and those that can take time. And after that is balanced, it's in harmony, well, it will start to work on the outside. That's why it works so good, the liquid and the gel, because when you have some on the periphery, on the more to the surface, when you use them in combined, you will see the results. Like there's no question.
Beautiful. And that's going back to what we were speaking about why it's our body is this intelligence. And so when you're telling me this is like when redox is that intelligence, right? That's like
Yeah.
it knows we want it to go in that on that area, but it's like, wait, no, this is the priority and it's going there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think that is bringing up also what I witnessed is because we spoke about this, right? So I want to bring it up here is that programming of patience of when because we have that programming that if we're taking something we want immediate results, we want this immediate reality, and because that's what we're used to, right, with
Yes.
conventional medicine and chemicals
Yeah.
and things like that. Whereas with redox, sometimes like just give it its time because it's working on those deep layers, right? It's working on
Yes.
repairing, not just
Yes.
the symptoms.
Of course. And well, that is true, and that is more true even with the liquid version. But as I told you, there basically is nothing, I believe, or that I've come across, that the topical won't give off like an immediate or maybe a 24-hour result. I don't think it exists. Anything. So anyone who wants to see if this is real should start, and they're more skeptical or stuff like that, they can start with the topical version and
Gotcha.
see that it works. And
Yeah.
when you see what it does on the outside, like imagine drinking it and what will do to the organs, to the tissues, to the vessels themselves. Like it's completely amazing. I don't know if you've seen it. When I think this can be done, like in your, if you have a confidence with some doctor of yourself, you can draw blood, look at it under the microscope, and how the cells are clumped together. Drink the redox, and after 10 minutes, draw blood again. After 20 minutes, after 30 minutes. Like you don't feel that the blood starts to flow. You don't feel it, you don't sense it. It just has impact over your whole health. That's what you sense. But the immediate, even if you don't feel it, it's immediately. Like the moment you ingest redox, it starts to do in right at that time, right in that
Yeah.
moment, it starts to do its job.
Why would you recommend, other doctors, other healers, other therapists, to, like yourself, to incorporate redox in their practice?
For all of it, for all that we have discussed. Well, to sum it up, I believe that if you want to implement a certain way, a certain natural way, a certain holistic way of healing, if you want to implement it for your client, for your patient, you it's gonna be in your advantage and in their advantage that their body will respond to that in a beneficial way, in a fast way, in a magnificent way. And redox will do that. It will lay the foundation for the goodness that you want to bring to your patients, to settle in, to take root, and to grow into a beautiful body, into a healthy body. It's the foundation of redox, of what it offers to the body.
Yeah, and you would say that it would also support the healing journey of people, like also like emotionally and mentally?
Well, I believe so, because when we talked about how the cells are like units and they're like community, if they have, I don't know how I'm going to make another picture because that's how I imagine them.
I love
If
that.
they have room to breathe around them, if they can move in a clear environment because they're suspended in water, like our bodies are, we are walking blobs of water, so to speak. And when when the systems work in order to flush out what needs to be flushed out, not to have stuck backup storage or residues or stuff like that, so everything works smoothly and in a harmony. And this is because the cells know how to talk to each other, how to communicate with each other. Maybe the other neighborhood needs to hold on for a bit, so this one needs to finish this work. So this is where redox comes, because they allow them. Imagine if your liver cells will start walking to the brain to exchange conversation and information and go back. That's not possible. So the redox is their communication line, and that's how they know what to do, when to do it, if they need to stop for a moment to allow other processes to take place, and after that them to start doing so. It's the communication between them, because the intelligence, the body already knows what to do. It's just you give it an extra help because of the extra aggressors that we have, so it can function how it already knows to function.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I can imagine also because our nervous system is made up of that as well, our brain, if we have what we were
It's a
saying,
lot
those
of
specific.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, so then the cells, that's why there could be some support on the nervous system. There can be a relaxing state. There can be maybe more clarity as well, like you mentioned in that space.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it goes the blood-brain barrier really, really easily, and they work in a, the brain has another, it's a whole new other type of communication, so to speak. And it's also based on redox, because they're also cells, they're units themselves, they're more specialized, they do more complex processes. but at the basis, they're also units, and they need to work together. And through redox, redox is the blueprint of all the communication between the cells, between all of them.
Wow. That's why it's so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I can keep going on and on, but that was just so beautiful. Is there anything else you want to share or any important message that you feel like the audience would benefit from?
Well, I believe that we can trust in ourselves, and we can trust each other to find the solutions that we look for. There are so many of us out there that want to help you and want to support you, and I believe we just need to give it a little bit of trust and of faith in ourselves and in the people that want to help us, because we, as me and as you, when we embark on this journey to want to help people to benefit from a healthy body, from a spiritual standpoint, from an energetic point, any point that you might think of, when we embark on this journey, we have the trust that we can guide well, and the only thing that we might ask in return is the trust back. That we only want the best for people that we serve. So that's my message, to trust in ourselves, to trust in our intelligence, because it already knows what to do, and to trust others that have been on the path, and that they can guide us as well.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful message. Thank you for that. And yeah, thank you for everything. I just want to let everybody know that your website is in the description box below. Also, in terms of Redox, they're operating in 35 countries. So you can just go to the market, also the website in the description below. You can just pick your own market and it will get delivered to where you are. And I feel like complete here, but thank you so much for everything that you shared. It was such a beautiful mapping and blueprint that you brought forward. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Natalie.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching as well. Okay, bye.
Bye.